morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending where in the world you are, and of course, what time of day or night it is either. Welcome to the podcast Up on the Edge with Al and Owen. I'm your host, Alan Nield, Big Al, or just Al, whatever you want to call me. And each week, I'm going to be joined by regular co-host Owen Sherratt and other special guests along the way too. Right, let's get right into it. This is the podcast Up on.
So joining us again is Liam. Good to see you, Liam. We managed to extend this. That's the guy just below me there.
Hello. It's good to see you again.
If it wasn't for Liam, I would have spent 9 years at the Revolution. 9 years out.
12.
Yeah, but you've had breaks in between when you've been sacked, haven't you?
Well, it's 15 with the breaks.
Bear in mind with the Revolution story, I'm a mere minnow because I only did officially nearly 3 years really.
Is that right?
Yeah. If you don't count all the old MFM stuff at the beginning, and you just take it from 1999, I was gone by the end of 2003.
But you are Mr. Revolution. No, I thought you was. I was just put you down as Mr. Revolution. You know.
So did you have reasons for leaving? Was it down to sales, or was it something that you just got tired of? Or
no, I was given the heave ho.
Did you get caught playing hide the sausage?
No. Well, I have to be careful what I say here because I signed a non-disclosure, so that would technically could still be there.
Who did you sign the non-disclosure with?
With Oldham FM Limited.
We're safe.
Still exists.
We're fine. Does it?
Still out there. Yeah, it still exists.
Oh man,
that's a shame.
But anyway, so I need to be fairly careful, but I can go into a bit more detail.
Yeah.
Essentially, what happened was, I'll take it very swiftly. Radio station goes on air. Before the radio station launched, I pitched to the investors based on it costing $350,000 to set the radio station up and run it for its first year.
Yeah.
And that's what they signed up to. And they also signed up to me delivering an audience of 8%.
Right. Wow, 8%.
That's massive.
Yeah.
How risky.
So well, at the time, nobody, at the time it was because there was nobody else. You were up against Key 103, who were massive. I mean, if you think back, Key 103 at the time owned Manchester. They were on 20-something%.
Yeah.
They owned, they were into Manchester United and Manchester City, doing full match commentaries and everything. Key 103 was Manchester.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to try and kind of nibble into that audience was a massive ask.
But
anyway, so
8%. Wow.
It was a challenging target.
Yeah.
So station comes on air. Our first radar, I think, was either 8 or 10%.
What's radar? Just explain what radar is.
All right, is this podcast for non-radio people?
Absolutely. It's the people of Oldham, Rochdale and Tameside. It's not just radio pointy heads.
All right, okay. Well, radar is the vastly flawed audience research system, which works.
When you say vastly flawed?
Yeah.
Those are
very
the people,
expensive.
Those are the people that knock on your door and say, here's a diary, could you fill that in for us and let us know what you listen to on the radio on a weekly basis?
That's right, and we were paying more than £1,000 a month for that.
Wow.
And you fill a diary in and then you send it back. And that's essentially what determines the audience figures. And of course, when you fill the diary in, you fill it in the day before you send it back and you try and remember what you listened to.
Yeah.
And that's why it's flawed.
That's why it's flawed, because nobody actually fills in what they really listen to. They fill in what they remember listening to, which is why anyone who works in radio gets drummed into them that you say the station name all the bleeding time. Say the station name twice a link, play a jingle, do this, do that. Oh, hello.
Hello.
Right, there we go.
And it's also, I can guarantee that it's flawed because on 3 occasions on the sort of 15 years that I've worked in radio, I filled out radar diaries.
Yes.
And I filled them all out to promote my show.
Absolutely, but the problem with that is it's such a small sample
Yeah.
So you have to get so many diaries to actually show on the figures. So if you're a radio station that covers the whole of the Northwest,
Yeah.
it's not a bad system. If you're a radio station that covers Rochdale, Oldham, and Tameside, you're going to get maybe a dozen diaries that go out in each area.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's so hit and miss for stations that are getting small audiences that they become unreliable.
Yeah.
But anyway, so inside the first 2 years, we come in, we smash the audience targets. We also smash the revenue targets because at the beginning of each year, I have to set the accounts with my board, and my board agree how much we're going to spend on salaries and marketing and how much it's going to cost to run the station. And then we put all the sales targets in. And in the 3 years I was there, I always came in under cost and over target on sales. And my last radar, which was mine, was 18%, and I think it was 14 hours. It was just over 1 million listening hours.
That's ridiculous.
That's brilliant.
Well, it was the policy when we came in was we didn't want to spook E103 or Century Radio as it was then, the other regionals. We didn't want to spook them into noticing us. So we didn't want to come in with loads and loads of reach.
Yeah,
we just came in at 18%. Yeah.
Well, we wanted to build the station on hours, not reach.
Yeah.
Right.
Because otherwise, if we came in with a load of reach, then we'd immediately be on the radar of the big stations who could just outmarket us.
Yeah.
And they would have just thrown loads of money at Oldham and we'd have been stuffed.
Yeah.
So we had to come in kind of under the radar and build it on hours, so that when you multiply the number of hours that you've got your average person listening per week by the number of people you've got listening, that gives you your total hours. And that's the figure that you sell on.
So you've overproduced, you've not underperformed or anything like that, and you're still shown the door.
Oh no, it's ahead of time. Yeah, I mean, I think the original budget was agreed at 350,000, and I think we spent just over 200,000 actually building the station and putting it on and running it for the first year or so. We were cash neutral halfway through the second year, and we were just before I left, we were into profit.
Right.
We just tipped the balance, and we were sitting on 1 million listening hours.
Yeah.
And then what happened was that UKRD got together with the Chronicle and had the conversation saying, well, all the hard work's done now. The thing's flying. It's ticking over fine. What do we need Liam for? It's just an expense. It's just we don't, So they underestimated what I did. They didn't.
Oh, Liam, you've switched your microphone off, mate.
There you go.
Sorry about that.
It's all right. So they underestimated what you did.
I think so anyway, but who knows? But anyway, so I was. Oh, here you go. This is a regret. You'll like this. This is one of my very few regrets at Revolution. As well as being MD, to keep the costs down, I did all the holiday cover, or most of the holiday cover on air. So when the staff presenters were off, I did the show, so we don't have to pay a freelance.
Yeah.
I was doing live lunch that week, and I was supposed to be driving a steam train at East Lancs Railway. And I got this is the day that I got told off you go, and I got a phone call from the Chronicle saying you need to come down for an urgent meeting at the Chronicle. And I said, well, I can't do that at the moment because it's about 11 o'clock. I'm just about to leave to go to the East Lancs Railway. Don't worry about that. We've got Chris Gregg to cover it. So immediately alarm bells are ringing in, because I'm thinking, oh, you really? How have you? So Chris Gregg covered that. We obviously gone behind my back to do that because I sought out the cover.
Yeah.
So I went down to the Chronicle. William Rogers is sat there, so he's bothered to make the journey up from Guildford. And the Chronicle are there, and the Chamber of Commerce are there. And they said, we think you've taken it about as far as you can. You've done a great job. Thanks very much. We want you to leave. And I said, well, what are you going to do for me to make it sweet? And then we came to an agreement where I left, and they gave me a load of money. Although I maintained my shareholding for a while. That was just, they paid me to leave. And then for a while I was still there, but I wasn't running the radio station. I was just on the board. And I think I did another 6 months or so of that. And then something else occurred where the Chamber of Commerce was being swallowed up by Manchester, and they had to get rid of what assets they had. And to his eternal kindness, John Gracie, who was the chairman of the Chamber of Commerce, came to me and said, look, Liam, heads up here, we're going to have to go to the board and sell our shares. So if you do it at the same time, you're going to get a lot more for them than if we do it on our own. So me and the Chamber of Commerce got together and dropped that bombshell with the board at the same time, and then I sold out of it about 6 months later, and then I was gone. Well, I wasn't gone completely because they still hired me for various other bits and pieces. Yeah. So
with your vans and your outside broadcasting gear.
Yes.
Yeah. So at least you had some sort of dealings with them, though.
None of it. We didn't. When I say they give me the heave, none of it. We didn't leave acrimoniously at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I went in to do. I called a full station meeting at the time and handed over to Dave Stankler, who was the head of sales, who was going to take over. But I did that handover and said, "Look, I'm going." So it wasn't a case of you're leaving. You've got 10 minutes to get out of the building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was all quite friendly.
Yeah.
Dave's running. Is it Rhubarb Radio or something like that? Now he's got.
I've no idea, but one of the things that did please me was when you can go back now and look at historically, look at the radar figures, look at the audience figures. The Revolution holds the record for any UK station for the fastest loss of audience in a single sweek.
Is that right?
Absolutely.
That was after you left.
Well, yeah, because the first radar after I left, because radar, for those again for non-radio people. The audience figures are a rolling figure, so every quarter, a year, one of the fourth quarter drops off, and they add a new quarter.
Yeah,
and it rolls on. So you don't get a complete set of new figures until 12 months down the line.
Yeah.
So, and of course, it's 6 months in arrears because the diaries that are out now are not going to get reported until the next quarter. So, for instance, in December, the winter quarter won't get reported until the end of March or so, when Radar put all the figures together and crunch the numbers. And that tells you where you were several months ago. And it only changes when more than 3 months drop off each time.
Is that why really shit radio presenters get to last on air a lot longer than what they should do?
Absolutely, because you get a direction, you get an idea of a direction of travel, but you don't get the full picture. So
he thinks I'm talking about him. Look at his face.
Yes. So the first radar that came out after I left was about 3 months after. That really didn't show much difference. The figures that came after that started to drop off a little bit. The third set of figures, which would have been at the time I was going, showed the biggest signal. I think it went down. They went down from 18 to 16, and then it went from like 16 down to about 8 or 9%, or 16 to 6 or something. It was a massive drop anyway.
Right.
And then of course it never recovered from that. It went down and down, and then it bumped along at about 5% for the rest of its life.
See, am I right in thinking radar, the higher the figure, the more money you get from the national ads?
Yes. Yeah, national ads are bought entirely on your cost per thousand.
Yeah. So, because I know that's one of the reasons why I like your figures and your hours to be higher, so they can get more money from the national ads, because they're the ones that pay the big money rather than your local ads. Because remember when I first started, Steve was running an offer, £60 a week to advertise on the Rev. So, which isn't a lot, but it was only £60 a week. I was sick of hearing that advert.
Well, that's a bit of a business mistake, really, isn't it? Because it's not. There's no point. The way you have to. Well, this is my personal opinion, and it seemed to work when we were doing it. Is there's no point chasing money that's going to cost you more to go and get it. You just draw. The way to do it is to look at what the local paper's charging. And just come in under that a little bit. And when I see what the local paper's charging, I mean what they're charging Pentagon Vauxhall for a full page.
Yeah.
So if Pentagon Vauxhall are paying £1,000 for a full page, then we should be charging Pentagon Vauxhall 760, 800 quid for a week on the radio.
Yeah.
And if someone comes along to you and says, I want to go on the radio, but I've only got 300 quid a week, the correct thing to do is to say, maybe radio's not the best thing for you, because at 300 quid a week, you're not going to get the response you want. And certainly at 60 quid a week, you're not going to get the response you want.
Yeah.
So all you're going to do is upset all the advertisers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to just fill these slots, aren't you?
What about the fun side of radio then? What's been the highlight of radio for you?
I can pin that down immediately. Highlight what general radio or revolution?
Well, let's say let's do it all. Let's do both, one of each.
Okay.
Does this include Chris Gregg again, by any chance?
No. Well, I've got a funny Chris Gregg story as well.
Right,
It's very entertaining. But first of all, the non-radio one. When I was working at Signal, Caroline Ahern was a copywriter at Signal, and because she lived up here, I
didn't know that about Caroline.
Yeah, she also did the evening show on Signal Cheshire with Craig Cash, didn't she?
Yeah. Because I was at Signal Cheshire for a while.
That's where I started out as well.
Very, very briefly, I used to be at Piccadilly Radio, and then Owen Oyston bought the place.
Yeah.
And everybody at Piccadilly Radio was looking to jump ship there because Owen Oyston was an incredibly unique character.
Cutthroat businessman, to say the least.
Well, anyway, so as soon as he bought the place, everyone was thinking, I've got to get out quick. And very kindly, John Evington phoned me up and said, Liam, how's it going there at Piccadilly? And I gave him the full story about it.
How's it going?
Why don't you come down to Stoke and we'll have a chat?
Yeah.
So I went down to Stoke and he gave me a job as a producer stroke presenter down there. And we would, because it was such a distance up and down the M6 every morning, we used to share transport with me and Caroline Ahern.
Right.
So that's one of my best non-broadcast, non-revolution memories, because she was just really funny.
Yeah,
so having the privilege,
funny,
having the privilege to spend an hour each way on the M6 with Caroline Ahern just chatting away next to you, was really good. Funny revolution memory has to be when we got a Reliant Robin for Andy Hoyle as a car, which I'm not sure they repeated at some point.
I was driving about in it.
Were you hilarious, absolutely hilarious. Andy Hoyle doesn't have such a happy recollection of it.
Right, I loved it. I loved that car.
Did you do the same mechanic? Because the on-air mechanic that we ran was Andy Hoyle's got a new company car and there's going to be a big competition giveaway at the end of the week.
Wow.
But we didn't tell them what it was.
Okay.
Andy Hoyle, meanwhile, drives around in this Reliant Robin all week.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the week, we give the car away.
Yeah.
And we say, hooray, you've won a car. It's Andy's Reliant Robin.
Okay. So what happened was, I don't know, maybe 5 years after Andy had it, the Reliant Robin ended up back at the same dealership, which was the one at the bottom of the hill, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Just near the hospital.
So we would, myself and Lee Glasby was doing I think the mechanic was something like, I don't know, from a condom to a car kind of thing, where you were swapping out and bizarrely we ended up with the exact same Reliant Robin as what Andy Hoyle had 5 years previous.
I didn't know it was the same car.
Yeah, man, yeah, because you can actually still see all the logos that have been put on the side of it. You know, when they sort of peeled it all off, but they hadn't taken the glue off. The glue was still there, kind of thing. Yeah, but I loved that car. It was fun.
They were a good car, though, weren't they? Not much room for the passenger because the engine was sort of catching the footwell, wasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And it was a bit airy going round corners with the fat lad driving it. If I'm being honest, you know.
Yeah, I guess cement on the other side to keep the ballast right. Yeah.
What I thought you was going to say, Liam, was the occasion when, the Revolution got quite big at one point, and there was shutting Yorkshire Street off in Oldham, and I think we were using one of your Star trucks at the time or something, and we was hosting every single week we was hosting a party effectively on Yorkshire Street in Oldham. Was it your truck that was doing that? Were you there for that? And Chris Gregg had dreamed up this competition where he got three couples, not necessarily couples, he got three blokes and three girls up on stage, gave them a sack, and basically said, right, first couple to swap clothes.
Clothes, yes, yes. We've seen
a prize, right? So you've got all these. It got to the stage where we was just getting families turning up. It wasn't just the revellers that was coming in the pubs and the clubs and one thing another on Yorkshire Street. And these couples got 3/4 of the way through changing the clothes in the sack, just give up with the sack.
Yeah.
And just stood on stage, start bollock naked, swapping clothes. And you got all these kids going, oh, look at these, look at these. And it was just like, oh, no, what is going on here?
It's because I remember because back in the day, Oldham was a really busy place to go out, and they used to close Yorkshire Street, didn't they?
Yeah.
And it was all pedestrianised, and it was all so people could wander it. It was imagine that. It's difficult to imagine that happening now.
What was the
like a ghost town?
Yeah, it is a ghost town now.
Yeah.
It really is. Sadly, it shouldn't be, but it is.
Do you want my Chris Gregg story?
Yeah. Well, yes. Go on. We need to get Chris Gregg on, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Because this is hilarious. I wasn't there at the time, but one evening I get a phone call from Mark Alston, who's on the radio, saying, "You need to get down here because I'm looking on the CCTV monitors, and Chris Gregg's car is in the car park, and it's on fire."
What?
And someone had set fire to, because without going into all the boring details, where Sarah Moore Studios is not the most salubrious area of town. And someone had left the gates open, and some scallies had come in and petrol bombed his car. His car's on fire, and Chris Gregg has gone out with whatever girlfriend he's oiked from whoever, someone who's phoned in with us, and where I had to contact him and say, unfortunately, I think he went to the cinema or something like that. I said, unfortunately, when you come back to your car, you might not be able to drive it away. But it was quite entertaining at the time.
Yeah, all new meaning to the word Hot Wheels.
What bizarre things have you done on air, Owen?
Me?
Yeah, competitions or you did the ice bucket challenge, didn't you?
I did the ice bucket challenge. Yeah, I did that at a pair of speedos, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
And I've not got the body of the man from Atlantis. More like Buddha.
My eyes are bleeding now.
I know. I think that I did that. Did the Dunkin' biscuit thing with Travis, and Travis's face when he said, "Oh look, you can hold your ginger. I can hold my ginger nuts in longer," And it's just. I don't. For me, it tends to be more carry on sort of humour, and try to just push it to that limit and get people involved. But I also did we used to have the Percy, didn't we, the gardening programme on a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
And I got away with that for, I think it was 22 weeks. How I got away with that, I don't know. Talking about somebody waving his chopper at me and, and things like that. But I got a listener to pretend to be this person, and we were just having a weekly catch-up of what's going on at the allotments. And a number of times, Tony's phoned me up, I can't read that, Owen. You'll never get away with it. Go, you'll be all right. Go on. It's all, what's the worst you can do, Saturday? But we did. Just got away with it. But yeah, no, it's all that. I mean, and of course... when the handovers in the morning, on a Saturday morning with you, Al, when I'd be finishing breakfast and you'd be coming in, because I've got to admit, if you weren't coming, I used to voice chat the last hour or the whole show. But if you were coming in, I thought, I've got to be there, just to see what trouble you can get me in.
What about you, Liam? What kind of stuff did you get up to on the air? What's happened during your reign on the throne?
I don't know. Loads and loads of stuff. I mean, I enjoy doing all sorts of different time slots because I did the cover for people.
Yeah.
So that was one of the good things about that is you're only doing a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
You're only doing a week, which is always very nice.
Yeah.
But my favourite was always the live lunch. I always liked going out and doing that because there was always different stuff all the time. I've just remembered something else, which was really, really hilarious. It was in your time at Revolution, Al, not mine.
Right.
It wasn't a live lunch, but I remember, again, it's a job with the truck for Revolution, doing, was it Middleton Carnival or Middleton Festival or Middleton Gala or something
I know
like that?
exactly what you're going to say now, and I've got the photographs to prove it.
Oh, it's just great. It was a typical carnival field in a field near Middleton, just outside Middleton.
Yeah.
And they got a motorcycle display team or something.
Yeah.
And they wanted a volunteer. So Al was hosting on the PA and he volunteered. And
No,
he went off to...
He didn't volunteer. Somebody volunteered him.
Did he really?
Yes, he did, yes. Listen, let me tell you, this particular day was a glorious, glorious day. The sun was shining, one thing or another, but for 2 days prior, it had pissed down. I mean, heavens had opened up and the ground was still wet. So, this motorcycle display team had done jumps on one thing or another. Liam volunteers stupid. And I've got jeans and a white Revolution T-shirt on, and maybe I should flash this up on the screen when we post the podcast up on YouTube of the aftermath, because I basically got tied by a rope to the back of 2 motorcycles and got dragged round a field.
It was absolutely amazing to watch.
You know, in the Wild West films where you see people being dragged behind horses? Well, that
I
was...
can imagine you quite liking that, Al, to be honest with you.
I was all right. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was one of those things off the tick list, you know. Yes, I've done that kind of thing, but...
I do hope you find the photo of that and manage to post it, because that's one of my enduring memories.
Do you remember how I got semi-clean afterwards?
No, did it take you off to some caravan somewhere? I don't know where. You just disappeared and said...
You had, because we was on the back of one of the Arctic wagons that you had.
Yes.
And you had some kind of shower facility or a hosepipe facility or something. And I was literally stood at the
hosed down
edge, and you hosed me down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the thing.
I don't remember the hosing down bit. It must have been too traumatic. I blocked that out.
And I've got that. I've got the photograph of that as well. So I
remember a photograph being surrounded by cheerleaders.
Yeah.
At the same event.
Me and you. Yeah. I think we were both a little bit more youthful.
Yeah.
Fair to say.
Youthful or useful then, Al?
Both. Absolutely both. Because those were really difficult. You know, people think, oh, it must be quite easy to sort of, you know, you got a crowd and everyone's up for a good time or one thing or other. But when you're hosting something for such a long period of time, and it could be 5, 6, 7 hours that you're on that stage for, you know, with 20 minutes off here and 10 minutes off there, you know, you end up chucking a microphone at Liam and say, just give me something to bounce off, please. You know, you just
it is very draining.
Yeah. You certainly earn your money on those days. But, you know, it's fabulous. And I think it does, you know, those and the Christmas light switch-ons and the bonfires when we do Oldham Edge and one thing or other, fabulous for the promotion of the radio stations. You know, they are invaluable.
One of the things that always makes me chuckle, and it's not a radio station thing, it's when you do a carnival for someone like that, usually the Round Table or the Rotary Club or someone, there'll be some person who says to you at the end of the day, oh, goodness me, I'm glad that's all over because I can't cope with doing that again for another year. That was massively exhausting.
Yeah.
We're thinking, all of us will be thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
We're thinking, I'm doing another one tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I'm doing that every weekend all summer.
Yeah.
What
thing is, though, it becomes like habit, though, doesn't it? And you do get
Yeah.
used to it. It's when you stop and you just go...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally trained.
We were talking earlier on about the Rochdale light switch-ons, where we had the big pictures of Steve Penk and one thing and another. There's a photograph of us after that in one of the pubs in Rochdale, and there's about 18 or 20 of us sat around all these tables, and there's just empty glasses everywhere. And it's not because we're alcoholics; it just takes so much out of you. It's ridiculous, you know.
Yeah.
But where did the bath full of beans come into things then?
Oh, that's another Chris Gregg story.
It keeps featuring Chris Gregg, doesn't it?
Well, he was a very popular chap.
Right.
So we always tried to dream up interesting ways of him getting involved with charities and things that could promote the radio station. And the more interesting for Chris, the better. So we had him in like baths of beans and baths of milk in Tesco for hours and hours at a time, because, you know.
With a live radio
mic
shoved under his nose as well. Yeah.
Yeah, every now and again.
Yeah.
It was more to get him, it's more to get him sat in a bath of beans, if we're honest.
I wonder if you ate him afterwards.
What if it made him Trump?
I know, yeah. Hey. All the bubbles there now. Oh, crazy, isn't it? The thing is, though, with baths, every time I got in a bath, I always had a wee. I wonder if he was the same.
Oh.
It's like going in the pool, though, isn't it? And you stand next to someone that's having a wee, and it comes out really green. It's a giveaway, you know. It's crazy, isn't it? Oh. So, your future, obviously, with this COVID thing, and you've not done much this year. You were saying
destitute.
The first lot,
or as a church
destitute. If anyone, have you got a Just Giving page for anyone?
Not yet. No.
Not yet. No.
No.
But so, as you're saying, a lot of things have been cancelled already for next year, and we're not even there yet. So, what do you think next year is going to hold out for you? Anything?
I think it's going to be very much the same as this year. I might get some smaller events, but most people who are not involved in events don't realise the amount of work that's involved and the timescales involved. So, for a bigger event, you know, just simple things like road closures, you've got to get those applications in about 3 months ahead. For them to go ahead, and you've got risk assessments, and of course there's a lot of money tied up in various events. I mean, even to put on something like that Middleton Festival or Rochdale Street Eat or Failsworth Carnival or anything like that, you know, you're looking at 25-30 grand just to do that. And if you're putting on something like Tour de Yorkshire, the cycle race, you're into the millions of pounds. And those bigger events are the ones that are cancelling now because, one, they can't get insurance for next year, because this year they were insured because COVID was new.
They won't get it again,
all the cancellation insurance have got. Now Tour de Yorkshire and are going to their insurers and saying, will you insure us in case we can't do it? And the insurers are going, on your bike.
Literally.
So they can't get insured, and they don't want to take the risk that we might still be in lockdown in, I think it's end of March, beginning of April, Tour de Yorkshire. So it's quite soon, really.
Yeah, it's only a few months away.
That's right. So they would not ordinarily be in the planning stages. And of course, a lot of their organisers are Tour de France people who come over from France, because when you do the Tour de Yorkshire, all the entourage vehicles are all on French plates and they're all left-hand drive, and there's a lot of logistics involved, and those kind of decisions. You can't throw an event together like that in a couple of weeks. So all those bigger events, things like the Great Yorkshire Show and things like that, they're all going to be making decisions now and in January and February as to whether they're going to run. And my guess is a lot of them just aren't going to happen next year either.
No, same with concerts and things like that. I know I've got tickets to the London Festival. Even that's still up in arms, you know.
Yeah.
You know, so hopefully it'll go ahead. But
again, because just booking the artists and you have to book them years in advance, and all the PA gear and the companies that do that. It's the logistics of all of it is you have your slot that you fit into, and most of it rolls round year after year, so it's very difficult to replace it with somebody. You can't just go to a different company. So I have regular jobs that come round every year, and the more I do them, the easier and quicker we get at it, because we know all the risk assessments and we know how to get in it. We know where the power's coming from.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have to replicate that with a brand new crew, it makes everything twice as difficult.
Yeah.
So if you can't,
it'd be nice if you could now generate something where you're hosting events online. I don't know whether that's a possibility, but I think the world as we knew it is a thing of the past, and it's going to be a while before the new norm is
certainly in terms of broadcast. I think in terms of events, which is my bag, I'm very lucky in that they're kind of recession proof, because a lot of the events that I do are paid for out of fundraising.
Right.
And once people have got over this first initial COVID thing, I think in a year or two it'll all bounce back, and people will always want to do the band contests and carnivals and things. They'll come back year after year, and they're usually funded from volunteers and subscription, and that money's usually fairly recession proof.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Revolution, we wish you all the best for the future. You've given us a fabulous life, and I'm sure I speak on behalf of not just Owen and myself, but
everyone that's been in and out the door.
Every presenter that's been there, thank you from the bottom of our heart.
I bet if you actually look at the number of people that have been in and out of the door over the past 20 years, from when I started to when Matt looked after it and then eventually sold, I bet there's there's way more than you think.
Yeah, well, maybe we should try and get them all on one by one.
All together.
We'll get all the other presenters and we'll turn around and say, Liam Forrestal, what did you think of him, really?
We won't tell him.
Liam, thank you very much indeed.
It's been a pleasure meeting you, Liam.
Thank you very much for having me. Thanks.
Speak to you again soon. Take care, mate.
Good luck for the future.